I bought my first house at 19 years old, and here's how I did it. Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back or welcome to my YouTube channel. It is Ashley, and in today's video, I'm going to be teaching you guys how I bought my first house at 19. Now, that is still, to date, my biggest accomplishment, like literally ever. So if you want to know how I did it, stay tuned for the video. But if you are new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. But let's go ahead and get on with the video. Alright, so as many of you guys know, I am 23. I bought my first house at 19. Now that was in 2021, so that does have some kind of like a market difference to it compared to today's market. We are in 2025. Things have changed. But I want to preface this. I bought my house with no help at 19. Now, when I say that, I'm saying like none of my family, like I literally know nobody that owns a home in their name that hasn't bought a home back in like the 1900s, because obviously they know nothing about buying a house in today's market. So let me say that again. I bought my house with no help. No money was given to me. No bonds were given to me. Like no family member helped me at all. I did this all by myself. So let's get into my story of how I bought a house at 19 and how you can too. So starting from the beginning, 19-year-old teenage Ashley was working a part-time job at a warehouse, and I was sitting there thinking, you know, I am so tired of living in my apartment already. That was the very first thing. I didn't own an apartment. I rented an apartment for a year before I bought my house. Now, that's very important because you do need credit to buy a home. You can't just get a home without any credit, no matter like how much money you have. So the very first step that I took into buying my home was planning a year ahead. I got a credit card. Now, that may sound absolutely terrifying and scary and insane, because to me it was. As a teenager, I always thought like credit cards are bad, debt's bad, everything's bad. Like money, bad, unless you have a lot of it. So that's just how I was taught, but I knew that I needed a credit card in order to get a house, and I needed credit on that credit line to own a house. So what I did was I went to the bank that I like bank through with my debit card, and I was like, what options do I have? And they gave me a few, because I do have like two different banks that I go through, and I liked one more than the other. I was able to get a like $300 sort of like, I don't know, credit card. And on that credit card, I knew that I was only supposed to be spending 10% of that, which kind of confused me because I didn't know that when I got my credit card that I was supposed to put that $300 up front. So that was the first like purchase, I guess you could say, that led me toward getting my home. So that first step with getting a credit card, I made sure that I did not spend any more than 10% of what the credit card was worth. So I made sure to only spend my purchases on like gas, like little grocery ins and outs. And I made sure not to go over $30, since that was 10% of $300, which was my allowance on that credit card. Now, I made sure to pay that off every single month, exactly. But now times have changed. Credit card companies pay that for you. Not really what I mean by that. It's more of like an automatic payment goes through for that. But before, I had to make sure to remember to pay it on the 28th, because not every month has 30 or 31 days. So I made sure to pay it on the 28th, but you could always pay it on like the 1st, I guess, of each month, so that your credit stays good. Also, I'm going to explain this in kind of like a dumbed down version so that it's very easy to understand for anybody trying to get a house. Because when I was trying to learn how to get a house, they kept throwing things at me like rates and interest and stuff that I had like no idea what any of that stuff meant at the time. So I'm gonna very much explain this as if I'm talking to teenage me again. So after about like 9 months, I would say, of living in my apartment, I was like, all right, I think it's time. I don't want to like stay in my apartment and have to rent out month to month, because that was like the only other option if I didn't renew my lease. And I was not about to do that because they wanted to tack on like another $200 charge, and I was not about that. I did have my boyfriend living with me at the time, so he was paying half of the rent for the apartment. And yes, definitely that helps out a lot if you have like roommates or a boyfriend, a significant other, whatever. Definitely that helps out with like leading up to getting a house. After about 9 months or so, I was like, I need to find somebody to contact to actually help me in getting like this end goal. Like I wanted a house. I knew I wanted a house. I did not want to be paying rent. I thought that was the most ridiculous thing ever, like spending money on something that's not even mine. So I looked everywhere for realtors. I could not find any. I contacted anybody and everything. Like I knew anybody that like owned anything. I was like, do you know like a realtor near me? Like, does anybody know? And there were so many different options. Like, some realtors wanted like money up front. Other ones wanted nothing to do with me because I was 19. Which was also one of the biggest struggles, was nobody believing in me, nobody wanting to work with me because I was so young. I finally found a realtor. Now, she was very, very experienced, and she told me before she even would work with me, she said, Ashley, I'm going to give you the contact for a mortgage lender, and you are going to try and find out how much you are approved for so that we can start looking at houses. And I was like, okay, girl, no biggie. Well, I didn't call one. I got too scared. I was like, you know what? Maybe this is too big for me. This is too big of a step. I'm scared. What if I'm not like worth buying a house? What if I can't like afford anything in the area? I had no idea. But she did get on my butt. She was like, okay, have you called her? How much can you get? All right, have you called her? Have you called her? Have you called her? And I was like, you know what? I'll call her. I didn't. She actually had the girl who was the mortgage lender call me, and I had to answer. So I answered and was like, hey girl, I'm working a part-time job, but I also do like DoorDash on the side. And she was like, tell me exactly how much you're making, send me paycheck stubs, send me like receipts, how much are you making? So that was like another kind of like difficult thing, was trying to get paycheck stubs from like months back. I also had to send them like all of my bank account information, because they do need to know a lot of stuff about you and what you are spending your money on and how much you're saving, how much is in your account, in case you need to pay like closing costs and stuff like that. After that, I found out how much I was approved for. Now, I am gonna give numbers. So a lot of people don't do this, but I really don't care. I am gonna give numbers because I was making $18 an hour working at a warehouse part-time. And then on top of that, I was doing DoorDash, Uber Eats, whatever. But it was enough for me to get qualified for $225,000 for a single family home. Once I found that out, I was like, okay, I have options. So I looked at every single house you could think of. But my problem was, my mind was so stuck on, Ashley, this is gonna be your house forever. You need to find the most perfect house right here, right now. You can't settle for anything less. Now, that also kind of scared me, because that was at like the very, very top of my budget, like the things that I wanted to be my forever home. And my realtor was like, Ashley, your first home is not going to be your forever home. I was like, no, like it really is. Like, I want to stay in my first home forever. I don't want, like, I wanted a very big house. I wanted like a 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom. And she was like, Ashley, that's not happening. Like, your first home is not your forever home. Like, I'm so sorry to break it to you. And I was like, not believing her at all. I was like, girl, you're so full of it. Like, whatever, okay, because like obviously I'm a teenager, so I was like, whatever. But it finally hit me that that was really not affordable, so that buying kind of pretty much anything I could find at the time was my only option. So we went and looked at tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of houses, but thankfully she was actually so on my side. She told me like which houses were in bad neighborhoods, which ones I shouldn't get, which ones I should get, because she was like, if you are stuck in this home for a lot longer than you plan to intend to, you want to be in a safe neighborhood, you want to be somewhere where you're comfortable, somewhere you'd be comfortable like walking your dog outside. And I was like, yes, that is very important, because I do have a dog. Now, besides that, every single time we would go and look at the houses, sometimes there would be like the homeowners would be there, but every single person had a Ring camera. Now, this I did not think would be such a big deal, but it definitely was. You have to present yourself. Now, if you want something, you have to look like you want that. And I didn't really realize that until like the few houses that we went into. Like, I was wearing like crop tops and leggings and like whatever, and then I was like, you know what, I actually have to start dressing up if I want to get like an offer accepted. I remember at one point I was actually dressed up nice this time, and she had taken me to this house, and the homeowner was there, and he was like, is that your daughter? Why are you bringing her? And she was like, no, actually she's qualified to buy this house. And he was like, no, I don't want a child buying my house. And she was like, sir, but she can afford your house and more. Like, are you sure? You sure you just want to turn someone down because they're 19? And he was like, yeah, I don't think I even want you guys touring the place. And she was like, you know what? It's not worth it anyway. It's not worth it anyway. Now, that was a huge shocker to me, that they can like just turn down whoever, which honestly makes sense, because when I got my house, the lady who sold me the house, she turned down tons of cash offers, tons of like flips or whatever, which I just didn't know was like a thing to turn down an offer. But anyway, my realtor had let me know beforehand, like, hey, just keep saving. Do not take out any loans. Do not take out any loans on anything, whether it's student loans, whether your car breaks down, you need a new car, which is freaking nuts because my car ended up actually breaking down as I was trying to close on my home. Now, we went through probably 30 something houses until I was like, you know what? This is the one. I think I want to put an offer on this one. I'm willing to go up, like whatever. And the house was under my budget, but I was like, you know what? I'll go 10 grand up. I'll go 10 grand up, whatever. I'll do anything it takes to get this house because offers were getting declined like crazy during COVID era. Now, everybody wanted more and more and more for their homes because homes started to go up in price really bad at that time. Now, when I say do whatever it takes to get what you want, my realtor had me writing a letter to the homeowner so that I could get this house. I literally wrote the most insane letter that you could probably ever think of. I was like, I want to have babies in this home. I want to live here forever. I grew up in this area, which I did, but it was very, very over the top. And that night I got a call from my realtor, Ashley, you got the house. It's time to buckle down. And I was like, what? Really? Because I really never thought it would be possible on my own because the house is in my name. I don't have my boyfriend or fiance or anybody else on the home. It is literally my home. I bought it by myself. Now, the best part was my realtor was free because she basically just got paid out for the home. And the only real cost that I had to go in with the home was the inspection, which only costed, I think was like $150, which I was like, not bad at all. I want an inspection and you do too. When I'm telling you that is like one of the most important parts of buying a home is the inspection. I am so serious. Get that inspection. You don't know if there could be mold, there could be insects, there could be like literally anything that you cannot see because obviously when I ran through my home for the first time, I was not looking for any of that. I was like, this is livable. I want it. The next hard cost in buying a house was closing costs. Now, I wasn't really, I would say, prepared for closing costs because my realtor did mention that, like, hey, like, you could get grants, like, they could pay for your closing costs. Like, you never know how it's going to go. Just make sure you have some sort of money saved. Now, for most homes, you need a good percentage, like 30%, to put down on the home. But since I was a first-time home buyer, I qualified for a 3.5% interest rate. Now, that means I only needed 3.5% of what my home is worth to put down on my home. But my realtor, she had so much extra back knowledge that she was like, you know, I can get you grants just because of like the area you're in. And like, if you take this test, like you can get a grant. So I ended up with a $5,000 grant to put down on my home. I also ended up with the inspection coming back saying that there was a window leak. And the seller of the home actually gave me $3,000 to put toward that. Did I put that toward that? No. Have I still not fixed the window leak? Yeah, I still haven't, but it was so worth it putting that money towards the closing costs and stuff like that so that I wouldn't have to take that straight out of my bank account when obviously I needed like groceries, I needed furniture, I needed all kinds of stuff moving into this home. Also, I did not know that you pretty much have to wait 30 days before you can move into the home. There is a closing period that makes sure that everything goes in and that nothing is wrong with the home and that everything kind of meshes together. So I didn't really realize that I wouldn't move in right away, which wasn't a problem because my lease wasn't ending right then and there, but I did have like a 2-day window from when my apartment lease ended and when I had to move in. There is also something called earnest money. Earnest money is kind of money you put down and give to the seller so that they know that you're real and that you're actually going to buy this home and not back out. Now, I did not know that that was kind of like a thing, so mine was like $1,000, so I had to pay that up front and give them that earnest money so that they knew I was legit, real, ready to go. I wanted the home. Once all of that went through and everything meshed together, I got a call, Ashley, it's time to sign. I did not know, which this kind of threw me for a loop. I thought I would just sign papers and be done, get the keys and go. You actually get to meet the seller and they can like ask you questions and stuff like that. That was like really a big shocker for me, but it was fine. Everything went well. I got the keys to my home and it was time to pay even more things. Now, these extra like hidden costs aren't really hidden. It's kind of like, I should have known that like I would need to pay these, but obviously living in an apartment before, I never had to pay these. I needed home insurance. I needed to find somebody willing to put insurance on my home, make sure I wasn't in the flood zone because I do have a creek in front of my home, and I was like, oh no, that's not good. But now being a homeowner, you're also in charge of anything like breaks in the home. Like our front like electric panel went out as soon as I moved in, our sump pump went out, and our basement flooded as soon as I moved in. And I'm not saying this to like scare you guys out of buying a home, but you need to be ready and prepared in case emergencies happen. So always have an emergency fund. I know I sound like Dave Ramsey or Graham Stephan right now if you watch either of them, but always have an emergency fund if you can afford to do it. Instead of going out on a shopping spree every week, save that money, or at least half of it, for an emergency fund, because you never know what's going to happen. Last but not least, all those extra little costs that like I should have known about. Obviously the home insurance, garbage. I had to sign up and like make sure to have somebody pick up my garbage every week. I also had to figure out how to like get the water hooked up to my home and get that paid. Water, electric, literally anything and everything you can think of that runs a home. So that was quite the costly run. I would say that probably totaled up to $1,000 getting all that started and ready, including Wi-Fi. But I really wasn't like, Wi-Fi is not that important right now. Like I have data on my phone, so Wi-Fi can wait until I get this all ready and in line. But honestly, it was so worth doing all of that because I finally have a home. I'm living in my home. I'm thriving in my home, and you can too. I swear by it. As long as you have a good line of credit, as long as you do all the steps that you're supposed to do and you just save, and you really put in that extra effort. Like I was hustling. I was doing DoorDash from dusk till dawn on the days that I was off. I was doing anything and everything that I could to save up for a home. And obviously my home isn't like a big 5-star like Airbnb looking like super nice. No, it's not. It was definitely not really a fixer-upper, but pretty much on that line because I knew that was something that I could afford and I was comfortable affording. So that's pretty much my story on how I bought a house at 19. Now, if you have any questions, link them down below in the comments and I will try to answer as many as I can. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye! Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye!